Welcome to Travel with Sean. I'm Sean. Today we are in the Vatican City and I'm going to take you on a tour of St. Peter's Basilica, which is the burial place of St. Peter, the apostle of Jesus. And this is the most famous, probably the most famous church in the world. We're going to go inside and take a tour. Visiting St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City should be a priority for anyone visiting Rome. It is one of the most famous and most significant churches in the world, both historically and architecturally. Entry to the church is free, and this contributes to its popularity and the long waiting lines to get in. Buying a skip the line ticket or signing up for a paid tour can shorten your wait to some extent. St. Peter's Basilica was originally built here by Emperor Constantine the Great in the year 326 AD over the burial place of St. Peter, one of Jesus' 12 apostles, who was executed in the year 64 AD, and who is considered to have been the first pope. Construction on the present basilica to replace the original began in 1506 and was completed in 1626. It was consecrated exactly 1,300 years after the original one. It was designed in part by Michelangelo, and some of the work was done by Gian Lorenzo Bernini, who designed St. Peter's Square. The basilica is renowned for its Renaissance and Baroque architecture, its vast interior, and its artistic treasures, to include works by Michelangelo, Raphael, and Bernini. We've been waiting in line for about an hour, which is pretty good. They say the average is about 2 hours. So the key there is come early. St. Peter's Basilica attracts millions of visitors annually who come to admire its architectural splendor, its historical significance, and its spiritual legacy. We're in St. Peter's Square. We're heading into St. Peter's Basilica. We're about to go through security. We'll be in there in just a moment. Before entering the basilica, all visitors must pass through a security screening similar to airport security, which can take time, especially during busy periods. Once inside the basilica, you can see the tomb of Pope John Paul II, visit the Vatican grottos, and visit the Treasury Museum. You enter St. Peter's Basilica under a portico with a gilded ceiling. There are several entry doors, but the door we're passing through is called the Door of the Sacraments. Installed in 1965, it depicts the 7 sacraments of the Catholic Church. Upon entering the basilica, your view is flooded with beauty, from the pillars to the relief work on the walls to the frescoes to the sculptures, and of course, the wondrously adorned domes. times. St. Peter's altar, also known as the papal altar, is positioned directly over the grave of St. Peter and directly beneath the dome. The altar is covered by a bronze canopy created by the famous architect and sculptor Gian Lorenzo Bernini, but this work of art is currently covered for restoration work being carried out on it. The interior of the dome is adorned with beautiful mosaics depicting the images of various saints and Bible scenes. Around the outside of the dome are the words, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Now we've come to the famous statue by Michelangelo called the Pietà, which depicts Mary, the mother of Jesus, holding his body after his crucifixion. Moving through the corridors, we see several arches, some domes, and many statues of past popes. Every chapel is beautifully designed. Some altars even have relief sculptures on them. Many of these chapels are the burial places of popes throughout history. This one is a chapel of Saint Sebastian, who was martyred under the rule of Emperor Diocletian around the year 288. The painting depicts the martyrdom of the saint. To the left and right are statues of Pope Pius XI and XII. This is also the tomb of Pope St. John Paul II. His remains were buried under the altar here in 2011 after previously having been in the grotto. Above the chapel, the design is intended to direct the viewer's gaze upward to the dome. Pope John Paul II is one of several popes buried within the sanctuary of St. Peter's Basilica. Pope Gregory XIII, whose tomb we have now come to, was responsible for implementing the Gregorian calendar, which is what is commonly used around the world. This is an 18th century replica of the Transfiguration painted by Raphael. The original is in the Vatican Museum. Even in the hallway leading to the treasury of St. Peter's Basilica, we can find ornate sculptures and relief art on the walls and on the ceiling. The basilica's sacristy is where the priests and other clergy get ready for Mass. Not only are their vestments stored here, but also items used in Mass, such as the chalices, the patens, and the candles. This is the entryway to the tomb of St. Peter the Apostle. About 100 years ago, archaeologists were doing some digging beneath St. Peter's Basilica, and they discovered a set of bones that were missing the feet. Scientific studies determined that these bones were approximately 2,000 years old and that they were of a healthy Middle Eastern man who was approximately in his 60s when he died, and that his feet had been cut off. Well, Peter the Apostle is said to have been crucified upside down in the year 64 AD, nearly 2,000 years ago, while in his 60s, and he was from Israel. It was routine for Roman soldiers back then to cut off the feet of executed prisoners who were crucified upside down. All of this was evidence enough for Pope Paul VI to declare in 1968 that those bones were definitely those of St. Peter the Apostle. Vatican archaeologists and historians nowadays are not convinced because of how the bones were collected 100 years ago, and they are still researching evidence to find the bones. Now we've come to the grotto beneath the basilica, which is the burial place of popes. Pope Pius XI was consecrated in 1922, and 7 years later, in 1929, he oversaw negotiations with the King of Italy on behalf of the Holy See, which is the office of the Pope. These negotiations culminated in the signing of the Lateran Treaty, which established Vatican City as an independent country under the sovereign authority of the Pope. Pope Pius XI died in 1939, just before World War II. Pope John Paul I died in 1979 after being Pope for only 33 days. Pope Marcellus II was Pope for 22 days before he died in 1555. He was the last Pope to use his baptismal name as his papal name. Pope Leo the Great persuaded Attila the Hun to stop his invasion of Italy in the year 452 AD. This is the base of a column that was used in the construction of the original St. Peter's Basilica, built in the 4th century during the reign of Emperor Constantine the Great. This is a perimeter wall of the original St. Peter's Basilica, built by the Roman Emperor Constantine in the 4th century. And here is a list of all of the popes and when they were consecrated pope. Thank you for watching. Thank you for traveling along with me. As always, I appreciate your support. Until next time, ciao, arrivederci, bye-bye.